All right, Chad, thank you so much for joining us. Have you personally had conversations yet with Donald Trump or the transition team about what this border security is going to look like and these mass deportations when he takes office in January?
Well, look, we've been thinking about this for some time at the America First Policy Institute, basically all 4 years, right? And we've published a lot of that on our website saying, here's what you should be doing on the border. Here's how to actually to secure that border, protect American communities, and to remove the most dangerous individuals out of this country. So, of course, we continue to talk to the transition team, making sure that they understand, at least from an operational perspective, what works and what doesn't work. And of course, the transition, the president's team, they've got a lot of experience with this now with Tom Homan and others. So I think they're going to hit the ground running on day one.
Yeah, it sure sounds like they're working on a plan to do that. So there's a lot of concern, of course, about what this is actually going to look like. And I have heard you reassure other people this is not like a door-to-door operation where you're waking people up at night and you're disrupting families. This is about the criminals. Tell me on the ground what this might look like in real time.
Yeah, this door-to-door, kind of, I would say, approach that the left-wing media has continued to proffer. It's not reality. It's not how ICE or DHS does its job. They target criminal aliens. They target individuals so they know where they're at. They know what they're doing, and they're able to pick those individuals up in a safe setting. And again, they're going to prioritize. There's a limited amount of resources right now until a Republican Congress provides more. And so they got to prioritize, and they want to make sure that they get the worst of the worst out of American communities. So what are you going to do? You're going to target public safety threats, and there's over 700,000 criminal, illegal aliens in American communities today. And even if you just remove those 700,000, that's a historic number. It's much more than the Biden administration has done. Then you've got national security threats. You've got final orders of removal. You've got all these different population sets here that make up this illegal alien population that you can target and you can remove before you start getting down into some of these, other cases that get a little bit more difficult. Perhaps folks that don't have a criminal record. They obviously crossed illegally, but they don't have a criminal record. So I think there are some decisions that the administration will have to make, but I don't think those are immediate decisions because there's a population set that you can target and you can go after without, and most people agree that criminal aliens should be removed from the country.
And how do you actually go about finding them? Because you've got this countless number of gotaways that have blended into the country. How do you locate them all? And is that actually possible?
So the gotaways, obviously, it's much more difficult. You don't know who they are. You don't know where they've gone. And so you're waiting for them to pop up on law enforcement radar in a sense, right? And so a lot of these folks that get picked up by ICE have actually come into the country and then they've committed another crime or they've come to the attention of law enforcement one way or another. So if you've come across the country and you're not coming to the attention of law enforcement and and there's not another circumstance where you're presented to ICE, odds are it's going to be difficult to remove you because you don't know where they are. And so again, the way in which ICE targets individuals, removes individuals, it's complicated and it's complex. And so this idea you're just going to go around opening doors and kicking down doors, it's not exactly how the process works.
And it is a mass thing where you gather up a bunch at once, or are you kind of picking them off one by one?
Yeah, again, the mass deportation operation that we've talked about it's not a snapshot. It's not you're just looking at what do they do the first week or the first month of the administration. This is going to be over a number of years. And over the course of the president's term, you're going to see more and more individuals be removed, and you're going to see more and more or less and less individuals coming into the country. And so you're going to continue to see those numbers increase over time. You got to think about it. For 4 years, the Biden and Harris administration has basically broken our deportation system. And so you're going to have to build that back up. You're going to have to target. You're going to have to remove. You're going to need more resources. You're going to need more help. So it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a sustained effort.
You've got several governors, as you know, saying despite the crimes they're committing in their communities, they are going to protect and fight against these deportations. Will their stance make any difference? Can they impede what you're doing, or are you guys just going to push right through it, that being the Trump administration, and just send more people and gather them up that way? Can they make any difference, the governors?
Yeah. They can make it more difficult, right? Anytime you have a sanctuary jurisdiction that doesn't cooperate with federal law enforcement, in this case, ICE officers and agents, it makes it more difficult, right? It's important to remember that all ICE is asking to do is to say, if you're in New York or Chicago or anywhere else that have these sanctuary policies, that if you pick up a criminal alien and they're in a jail in Chicago or New York, they've crossed the border illegally, so they shouldn't be here, but then they've committed another crime in that local jurisdiction and you have them in jail, they get alerted. And what they're asking to do is to say, keep those folks in jail. Don't let them out until I can come there and pick them up and then deport them. And what you have, folks like Chicago and others are doing is saying, nope, we're going to ignore that detainer request. Instead, I'm going to let free someone who's just, committed a crime. I'm going to release them back into the community so that you can't remove them from the country. So it makes it more difficult if you don't have a willing partner in your local law enforcement. That being said, ICE has federal jurisdiction. They could go into any community, any state, any city and remove criminal aliens and remove them out of the country. It just makes it more difficult to do that if state and local law enforcement are not helping them.
Talk to me about the cost of this. The critics say, well, it's going to cost billions of dollars. But does the administration kind of take the stance that we're already spending billions of dollars on illegal immigrants here anyway, with the care and the incarceration and all the things that need to sustain them once they cross the border?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, you just look at the billions of dollars. It's probably close to $1 trillion that the administration has spent facilitating illegal aliens into the country, busing them, flying them, housing them, gift cards, food cards, everything all the money that they're providing. I think that money would be better spent actually removing individuals that are a threat to American communities, removing individuals that don't have a legal right to be here, removing individuals that have committed crimes. That's what the American people want. Obviously, they voted for that for President Trump. And so you're going to repurpose some of that funding to do just that. And at the end of the day, this is about protecting Americans and national security. And so it's very difficult to put a price on doing just that.
Last question. A year from now, what is your prediction? We already know that we've got a massive amount beginning to head toward the border again, trying to get here potentially before Donald Trump takes office, knowing that time is running out. 1 year from the time he takes office, what do you think the border is going to look like at that point?
Yeah, it's difficult. I think if unimpeded, the Trump administration will put measures in place that will obviously severely curtail the flow of migrants coming across that border to probably historic lows. But what we know is the left, they will launch lawfare against the Trump administration. And so it largely depends on what do those court cases, what are those lawsuits, how are they adjudicated? If they are all filed in the Ninth Circuit, it makes it more difficult. There'll probably be some strategies that the new team is taking a look at there, because that's what they used during the first Trump administration. The lawsuits, I think they launched over 400 just in the immigration space alone. And so it made the job of DHS more difficult. And my guess is if you're on the left and you're on the outside of government, that's probably what you're going to do again. You're going to use your playbook from last time, and you're going to sue the Trump administration to try to slow down, disrupt, and make it very, very difficult for them to achieve their policy goals.
And do you think the Trump administration is prepared for that?
I do. I think they started taking a look at that. And again, the left has showed their hand for the 4 years that President Trump was in office the first time. So it's not going to be new. I think the team knows what's coming.
All right, a lot of developing things happening over the next several months and the next several weeks. Chad, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.